Hi everyone, just a little novelty idea for people to copy at home. Just using up maybe surplus flowers that you happen to have lying around. Maybe you got a bouquet before and you have a few flowers left out of it. Or maybe you're up the supermarket or the flower shop and you picked up a mixed bunch. Or maybe just going out to your own garden and depending on the time of year, maybe the foliage in your garden happens to have a flower on it. The container I'm using is a cheap plastic glass. That's what it is. I'm in Dublin, Ireland, and we have a shop here called Deals, and they sell everything for $1.49. And these plastic glasses, which is probably for a kid's birthday party, etc., these was 4 of the containers for $1.49. So I just picked a couple of them up, and what I did was I have filled them up with some floral foam. Now at home yourself, you could use a nice container for this. You could use maybe a vintage china cup that you have. You could use a glass container, a ceramic container, a little basket, a little posy dish. It's really, as I said, it's a novelty idea. Maybe for a party to have a couple of individual arrangements around the house or around the table as table centres. Or maybe if somebody's having a teenager children's party, this is something you could get them to copy themselves and bring home. As I said, you could just pick up a couple of mixed bunches of flowers in your local flower shop. Or maybe for a baby shower party or a hen's party, again, these could be little novelty arrangements around the table that people could bring home. So hopefully you enjoy it. So the idea is that you have a selection of flowers, and once all the colours kind of tone in with each other. Now I do have a nice selection of flowers here because I'm in the flower school and we have a lot of flowers in like throughout the year. So a flower that I have, because it's spring at the moment, a flower that I have here is the purple iris. The purple iris, they're an absolutely fabulous flower. But when you buy them in, they are quite tight. So if you ever want to encourage them to open, don't be afraid to blow into the flower. Like, don't put your hands on it. You can use your hands to peel back like the little banana skin on them if you need to. But normally if you just a little blow into it, you kind of get them to encourage them to open up that little bit more. Because they only last about 5 or 6 days. So it is nice to give them that little bit of encouragement just to see the joy of the actual flower itself. So I'm going to do what we call like a grouped method. Without putting too much thought or effort into this, pick a point on the floral foam and stick your flower into it. Now that could be a carnation, it can be any flower at all. But hopefully you would have 2 or 3 of the same flower. So because I've used the iris, I'm now going to get a second iris. Sometimes when you cut iris shorter, an outside like lining of foliage kind of comes off. There we go, is this one going to come off? Eeny meeny, yes, it is going to come off. And you're left like with a narrower stem. Just going to cut that a little bit shorter. So just be aware of that when you do cut it shorter. And just quite close to the first iris, I'm just going to place my second iris just a little bit lower. And you will notice there that I kept the smaller iris at the top and the larger iris at the bottom. That would be a rule in flower arranging. Small, medium, large. So you get larger as you come down. Also in stock here today, the right name, the flower is called stock as well. But what we happen to have here at the school is this flower. The scent of this is amazing. It's a pity you can't smell it from your side of the camera. So again, I'm just cutting this stock short. People could have stock growing in their garden. So over the opposite side of the little container at all, I'm just going to place one of these really short down onto the floral foam. So that's what it looks like so far. Now again, that could be maybe a rose out of your garden. It could be a camellia head, a rhododendron head, a small hydrangea head, or again, any little bedding plants that you happen to have in flower. I also happen to have an allium. Now again, people would have these growing in the garden. They might be slightly larger heads, the ones that you have growing in your garden. Again, I just happen to have them in stock here at the school. So again, I'm going to cut the stem really, really short. Pick a different area altogether on the floral foam. There's no balance here. There's no trying to divide things up. Just pick a different area altogether and I'm going to press the allium right down onto the floral foam. So the idea would be that if this was being used as a table centre, no matter what side of the table you're at, you're looking at something nice. Now again, when you're changing or when you're substituting the flowers, that could be a large carnation. These could be roses. This could be a group of freesia or it could be a Germany head. I also happen to have a couple of Lysianthus heads. So that's the stem of Lysianthus heads. But I'm just going to take one head off. And again, in another area in the cup, I'm just going to place this little Lysianthus head down low onto the cup. And I'm going to use a few of the little buds. These buds will never open, but just close to the centre, I'm just going to add in the little buds. Just gives an extra little bit of height and an extra little bit of texture to the arrangement. And as I said, them buds won't open, but always customers are convinced that they will open. In a flower shop, if you happen to be watching from a flower shop, these are great for using up any broken heads that you happen to have lying around. I have a couple of little pieces of eucalyptus, and I'm going to use the eucalyptus just for helping to camouflage or hide any floral foam that's showing. This is the Parvia eucalyptus, so it's quite small, it's quite tiny, so to be honest it's a little bit tedious for kind of covering in, but I'm going to put in a few little pieces of it so far just to show you how I'm going. Again, out in your own garden you might have some hebe, a little bit of ivy. Ivy would be perfect here, and to be honest would fill in an awful lot faster. Little bits of pittosporum, that would be great. Or again, depending on the season, you might have the ceanothus with its purple flower on it. You could have some of the hebe with a purple flower on it, the escallonia with a pink flower on it, or again, some of your evergreens like your elaeagnus, your euonymus. And if the worst came to the worst, even a little bit of hedging, you know, like say privet or, can't think the name of it. It's on the tip of my tongue, it'll come back to me. Other things that you can use, again in the flower shops, they may have little bits of tree fern. So I'm just cutting up a couple of little sprigs of tree fern. Again, I'm not even using a full stem, but just a few little bits. And again, here and there, throughout the arrangement, just again, any little spots there, just kind of for helping for a little bit of camouflaging, I'm going to stick in a couple of little bits of tree fern. And also in shops, you'd often have wax flower. Again, I'm not going to use a full stem of it, but again, I'm just going to cut up little sprigs of the wax flower. This is just kind of a lavender lilac colour, and I just feel it'll tone in nice with what I'm doing. And again, here and there, I'm just going to put in little bits of wax flower. So even though the rest of the arrangement was grouped, the wax flower and the foliage is kind of like more evenly divided throughout the arrangement. I'm just going to cut this sprig even shorter. Talk about getting good mileage out of your flowers. And I'm just kind of checking down around the lower part of the arrangement. Because the thing with these as a table centre, when they're on your table, when you're sitting down, that's the area that you're looking at. So always make sure that either to hold the arrangement up in the air and look at it, or do what I did, like bend your knees and come down lower to the arrangement and just check in down around the very rim of the arrangement or the container, that you make sure that you can't see any floral foam. In flower shops, we call this covering in our mechanics. Now I happen to have some steel grass here at the school, which is similar to bear grass, but it's much, much longer. And I love it because it's great. You can get a little piece of it, you can stick it into your floral foam on that side, you can bring it across, you can cut it, and then you can stick it in onto the opposite side, and then with just a little bit of manoeuvring around just to make it a little bit even. And you see, just to make like little loops like this. And you can have a little bit of fun. You can have them going in all different directions, or you can make them different heights, like smaller ones and larger ones. Or again, you can angle them kind of slightly different. So I'm just going to turn that around just so that you can see what I'm doing there. And I'm going to use another piece maybe in between that again. So I'm just going to stick one in here, just kind of keeping it kind of uneven. As I said, a little bit of fun. A stem of ivy with small little leaves on it would look well kind of to do that effect. And I think I'll add one more. Often I just say to the students, when you're making these arrangements, you're designing them. Or then I just say to them kind of under my breath, listen girls, what we're doing is we're making it up as we go along. Because that's basically what you're doing. Like I was going to put in one piece of steel grass, and then I decided to add in 3 or 4 stems of it. Now, it does look like a small little cocktail. What do you think? So when you have a cocktail, you need your little straw. So here's my straw now coming out of my cocktail. So especially if you are doing this for a little party. And when I get a cocktail, I like to eat the cream off the top of the cocktail. So here I have a little plastic spoon, which I'm just going to add into the arrangement as well. Just clean off our spoon. And sure, there's nothing like a cocktail if you don't get the umbrella. So here we have our little kind of like pinky umbrella. We'll just pick up the shades of the wax flower. I'm just going to stick this, let me see, I'm going to go in here in between the grasses, move over there, stick it in. Probably do this on a longer stick. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a wire to it. So just getting a wire, making a little hairpin bend, wrap it around, just to add an extension onto it. I'll cut the wire now because now it's too long. I'm going to make a little hook at the end of the wire. Hopefully you can see that. Because I find if I stick a wire in on its own, there's a good chance it'll fall out or it'll keep moving around. Where when you do that little hook at the end, it helps to kind of hold it in place. and just stick it down far enough that I'm hiding the wire, but yet you can still see the umbrella. So I'm off to the club now with my cocktail. Hopefully you've enjoyed that tutorial. If you have any questions at all, feel free to email me here at the school at info@flowerschoolireland.com. We have lots more of these novelty arrangements over on our YouTube channel. So pop over to YouTube, just Google Case Flower School YouTube and we should come up. Make sure you subscribe to us so every time we upload a new video, you'll get a little notification. If you're watching this on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, I'd absolutely really love if you gave me the thumbs up, maybe a little bit of love, share the hearts, and I'd really appreciate if you shared my tutorials and my videos. I hope you enjoyed it and hope to see you back here soon. Thanks a million.